What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're getting into my January 24th NCAA Tournament Bracketology Predictions. So let's dive right into them. Technically, this one was from yesterday, but I didn't get it out in time, so we're gonna have to settle for the next day one. So let's look at the bracket watch. Top overall seed goes to Purdue right now. The first team out, Oklahoma, and then the last team in, we have Penn State. And here on the bubble, Boise State, Maryland, Pittsburgh, Ohio State. The last four in, Arizona State, Northwestern, who I believe beat Wisconsin last night. I think they did. So big win for Northwestern. We have Kentucky and Penn State. First four out, we have Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and USC. And then the next four out, Nevada, who just upset New Mexico in a double overtime game last night. Now, it doesn't count, though, according to right now, because New Mexico is still, because this was yesterday, but last night, Nevada pulled off a big upset. And then we have Utah State, Florida, and then Wake Forest. So we look at the full bracket here. Starting out with the first four games, we have Arizona State falling to an 11 seed. Southern going to be jumping up to a 16. We have Nicholls State new to the field, or Southern drop it down to a 16. We have Nicholls State new to the field at a 16. Kentucky new to the field at a 12. And then Penn State, obviously, new to the field as well. In the South region, starting out here, we have Purdue as the number one overall seed, obviously. And then Arkansas continues to fall right now, just not playing good. Drops down to an 8 seed. Duke jumping up to a 5. I do believe they lost last night to Miami. No, they beat Miami. They beat Miami on Saturday, I believe. I'm not sure who they lost. I think it was Virginia Tech. Yeah, Virginia Tech beat Duke. And then we have Michigan State jumping up to a 6 seed. Pittsburgh dropping down to an 11. We have NC State dropping down to a 7. Missouri going to be dropping down to a 10. Kansas State is going to be climbing to a 2, and then Samford going to be jumping up to a 15. Here in the Midwest region, we have Alabama new at the 1 seed there. Iowa dropping down to an 8. New Mexico jumping up to a 9, although I would assume that they would fall after losing to Nevada, but they're going to be jumping up for now. We have UConn dropping down to a 5 seed. Ohio State going to be jumping up to an 11. Southern Illinois going to be dropping down to a 14. We have Illinois dropping down to a 7. Boise State jumping up to a 10. Arizona going to be jumping up to a 2. And then UNC Asheville jumping up to a 15. In the West region, we still have Houston at the number 1 seed, even after the loss to Temple that they took on Sunday. We have SIU Edwardsville dropping down to a 16. North Carolina going to be jumping up to an 8. Creighton's going to be falling to a 9 seed. Indiana going to be jumping up to a 5. TCU, after beating Kansas, going to be jumping up to a 4 seed. And then UC Santa Barbara, new to the field at a 13. Miami dropping down to 6. As I mentioned, Duke beating them earlier. Then we have Maryland dropping down to 11. Iowa State going to be dropping down to a 3 after I believe Kansas State beat them. That's what I would assume there. San Diego State going to be jumping up to a 7 seed. And then we have Milwaukee new to the field at a 15. In the East region here, we have Tennessee. Not sure. I think this is a typo, but they're jumping up to a 1 seed here because you can't really drop down. But anyway, Siena going to be dropping down to a 16 seed. Wisconsin jumping up to a 9, although I would assume that they would fall after losing to Northwestern like they did last night. But this is obviously what, like I said, was yesterday morning. Seattle going to be jumping up to a 13 seed. We have Auburn jumping up to a 6. Princeton going to be dropping down to a 14. We have Providence dropping down to a 7. Memphis going to be jumping up to a 10. Kansas, after losing now 3 straight, this counts for 2 straight. But Kansas losing to Baylor last night and TCU on Saturday, I believe. Not looking good for Kansas at all. They can't keep losing these games. And then UMass Lowell new to the field at a 15 seed. All right, so let's get into the bracket. Starting out with the first 4 games. First off, we have Arizona State and Northwestern. I'm going to have to go with the Northwestern here for the win. And then Morgan State, I think, could beat St. Francis. Kentucky versus Penn State. This should be a 12 seed. Let me just change this real quick. It's going to bug me. But I do think that Kentucky can win this game over Penn State. And then Southern against Nicholls State. I think that I believe that's wait, let me check. I forgot who I picked. I always write down who I picked in the first so I don't forget when I'm filling out the bracket. But anyway, I'm going to pick Southern in this one. All right, so anyway, let's look at the bracket. Starting out with the first game, we have Purdue versus Morgan State. I'm going to have to take Purdue in that one. Florida Atlantic, I think, can pull off the 9/8 upset. I mean, no, Arkansas is just not playing good right now, and Florida Atlantic playing really good basketball. And then Duke versus Kent State. Duke's not playing great here. I'm not sure if Kent State's going to be able to be the team that can do it, though. Yeah, I don't think that Kent State will be able to beat Duke there. I'm going to have to take Duke. Xavier, I do think can beat Marshall. Michigan State, I think, can beat Pittsburgh, as well as Gonzaga beating Eastern Washington. Then I have an upset here, 10/7. Missouri gets NC State. Good game here. I just think Missouri's slightly the better team. And then Kansas State, I think, can beat Samford. All right, let's go down here. Tennessee versus Siena. I'm going to have to go with Tennessee there. Clemson, Wisconsin. I'm going to have to go with the 8-seeded Clemson. Rutgers, I think, can beat VCU. Marquette, I think, can beat Seattle as well as Auburn. Holding off Northwestern. Although Northwestern's a good 11 seed. You know, let's do it. Northwestern coming up the first 4 game. I'm going to pick them to upset Auburn, who's a good team. But Northwestern has been playing good lately. They just beat Wisconsin, as I said. Now, Auburn is a good team, but I think that Northwestern can pull off the upset there. So let's do it. And then Virginia, I do think it beat Princeton. Providence, I think it beat Memphis, as well as Kansas beating UMass Lowell. Down here, we have Alabama pulling off the win over Southern. Iowa being able to win against New Mexico, as well as a 12/5 upset here. We're going with Kentucky. I know Kentucky struggled this season. It's been just not a good year for Kentucky, that's for sure. But this team has talent. There's no denying that. And UConn, I'm just not a big fan of. I think that they're one of the weakest top teams right now, top 5 seeds in this bracket right now. I mean, they're just not playing good right now. And I think Kentucky is a team coming off the first 4 that can win that game. All right, but then I have Baylor beating Liberty. I do think that St. Mary's can beat Ohio State, as well as Texas beating Southern Illinois. Illinois, I think, could beat Boise State there, as well as Arizona pulling off the win over UNC Asheville. All right, down here we have Houston versus SIU Edwardsville. I'm going to go with Houston. North Carolina versus Creighton. I'm going to go with a slight 9/8 upset here. Creighton's playing good ball, so I think that both these teams have been disappointments so far this season, but I do think that Creighton's going to have enough. And then an interesting matchup between Indiana and Oral Roberts. I really do like Indiana. I don't like them too much. I'm going to go with the 12/5 upset here. Oral Roberts pulling off the win, a very good 5-12 seed. In my opinion, probably the most dangerous of all the 12 seeds there. I think that they can win that game in advance. Then I think that TCU can beat UC Santa Barbara. Miami versus Maryland. Maryland played it very close against. I'm going to go with the 11/6 upset. Maryland, as I said, played it very close against Purdue in their last game. Almost won that one, surprisingly. In Maryland, they're a good team right now. Not a team to be underestimated. I like Maryland in that one. Iowa State, I do think, can beat Colgate, though. And then San Diego State will fall to Charleston. I like Charleston a lot. Although San Diego State's a good 7 seed, Charleston, I think, is slightly better. And then UCLA, I think, can beat Milwaukee. All right, let's go over here. Purdue against Florida Atlantic. Purdue, I mean, they really have played a lot of close games, have been surviving, but I don't know. Purdue feels beatable right now. Florida Atlantic, I don't think is going to be able to do it, though. Duke versus Xavier, not a huge fan of both these teams, but if I had to pick, I would go with the 4-seeded Xavier there. Michigan State's going to pull off the 6-3 upset here. I'm going with Michigan State. Gonzaga, just as we saw their loss to LMU, I mean, they're just not looking like the same old Gonzaga, and Michigan State's a good 6 seed, so I'm going to go with the upset. And then Kansas State, I do think can beat Missouri, though. And then down here, we have Tennessee versus Clemson. I'm going to go with Tennessee, the battle of two orange teams there. Rutgers, Marquette, a good matchup here, but I'm going to go with the 4-seeded Marquette. Virginia, I do think can beat Northwestern. And then, man, do I do it, guys? I mean, Kansas is not playing great right now. They're not playing great. Providence. Let's do it. I'm going with the 7-1-2 upset here. Why not have some fun here? Providence is a good 7 seed. Let's give them some love for Providence pulling off a huge upset. All right, over here, though, we have Alabama versus Iowa. I'm going to have to take Bama there. And then Baylor, I do think can beat Kentucky. St. Mary's versus Texas. I'm going to have to go with Texas. And then Arizona, I do think can beat Illinois. So all chalk in that region right there. Over here, we have Houston versus Creighton. I'm going to have to go with Houston. Although Houston, they're on upset watch as a 1 seed. So I'm going to go with TCU, though, as well. So all 4 seeds making the Sweet 16 right now. And then Iowa State, they do think it beat Maryland. And then UCLA will unfortunately beat Charleston. So a lot of chalk in the right side, all chalk down over there in the second round, in the round of 32, to be exact. But anyway, let's go to the Final Four. We have all 1 versus 4 matches for in each region. Here, Purdue versus Xavier. I'm going to have to go with Purdue in that game to advance to the lead 8. And then Michigan State versus Kansas State. I'm going to go with the 2-seeded Kansas State. All right, down here we have Tennessee versus Marquette. I'm going to go with the 1-seeded Tennessee. And then Virginia versus Providence. Unfortunately, I do think Virginia is the better team right now, and I think they'll beat Providence. Up here, though, we have Alabama versus Baylor. I'm going with Bama, so all 1 seeds so far have made it to the Elite Eight. And then we have Texas versus Arizona. I'm going to go with the 3-seeded Texas, or no, I'll go with Arizona. Arizona had a big win over UCLA over the past, in the past. So I think Arizona's a legit team right now. So I'm going to go with them. Then TCU, I think, could pull off the 4-1 upset there between 2 Texas teams. TCU is a very good team there, and I think that they could pull off the win. Iowa State versus UCLA. I know Iowa State lost to, I believe it was Kansas State. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I do believe it was Kansas State that they lost to. But I do still believe in Iowa State as a team, so I'm going to take them. All right, so for a spot in the Elite Eight, Purdue versus Kansas State, and Purdue will fall to Kansas State. I'm taking the 2-seeded Tigers, right? That's their mascot, I believe. Kansas State's a very good team here. They're playing great. They're just continuing to find ways to win right now, and I do think that I've put them in the Final Four the past few brackets, and I'm going to keep them in there just playing really good. And then 1-seeded Tennessee versus 3-seeded Virginia. I'm going to go with Tennessee there to beat Virginia. Alabama versus Arizona. Alabama's just playing too good. I think that they can win that one as the 1 seed of that region. And then TCU, Iowa State. I'm going to have to go with the 3-seeded Iowa State to advance to the Final Four. All right, so here we are in the Final Four. We have 2 Big 12 teams and 2 SEC teams. The top conferences, we'll see who wins these games. Tennessee versus Kansas State. Let's go with really good matchup here. I do think that Kansas State can pull off the win. The 2 seed, let's give them the dub there to advance. And then Alabama versus Iowa State. I'm going to have to go with Alabama right now to advance to the championship game. So for a spot to win the national championship, we have Alabama. We have Kansas State. 2 very good teams. Last time in these 2 brackets, I picked Alabama to beat Kansas State. Let's flip it up. Let's go with Kansas State for your national champion this season, the 2 seed. I really do believe in Kansas State right now, and I think that they can win the national championship. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your predictions. And anyway, peace.